Hello everyone, this is Abhishek here, and you're watching the United Fan Zone. Joining me today is Amrit and Trishal. So they would both will be doing, and we would be doing the Wolves review, United versus Wolves review. So Amrit, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? I'm not really, well, in terms of the results, obviously not so happy, but I think it's okay.
Mm, this being our first video, let's do the introduction part first. So Amrit, 2 minutes to introduce yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Amrit, and I've been supporting Manchester United for quite some time now. I'm currently in UK, and to be frank, I don't go to many games. I've just been to Old Trafford once, but obviously I watch all the matches, and I'm really sad with the affairs of Man United at the moment.
So you're one of those lucky guys who don't get to, don't get the frustration every single match.
You can say that. You can say that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have Trishal here also joining from Australia. Yeah, Trishal, your turns up. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi Abhishek. Yeah, so myself, Krishal, currently in Australia, another Red Devil. Been a few years now. We started off with Peckham, Roy. Now we are here. So we've seen almost everything now.
Yeah. So I've got two wonderful people joining me for the review. The match. I don't know what to say. Let's hear it from them. So Trishal, how was the match?
How do you say it was another frustrating night, I would say. It's it's a strange game. Like we could have won the game, and I think we should have won the game. But you don't win the game if you don't score, and that's how it goes. So can't complain much. Nil-nil draw is a fair result because they could have edged it because the chances that they had created, though it was very few, I think they could have edged it as well. But on the whole, I think it was a game which we should have won had we had a bit more truth in the final third, or if we had a more ideas going forward, or we had better players and quality in terms of attacking. So a bit frustrated on that front because we didn't get bulldozed, or it was not a game where we got dominated. We had the ball. We They were holding on for most of the time. So I think it was a game we should have won.
Yeah.
For that, it's a bit frustrating, but I think we are a bit used to it now. Nil-nil draws, as Ole said, they're a tough team to break down. So we're going to places.
Okay. You pretty much summed it up completely. Amrit, what did you think about the match?
I think, well, to be frank, I've been seeing the team, and I think I see the improvement. But improvement in terms of first touch. Horrible first touch from Lukaku going back 1 or 2 years. Looking at the team right now, yes, we need to hold the ball better. Pereira needs to do so much better than what he's doing now. Other players as well, obviously, ideas, runs. At times I felt in the match, you know, we were doing initially the first 15 minutes was quite good. But I think we want those hardworking players, I think, in the team who want to keep the movement going, keep something new, something different all the time. Get into those pockets, not be afraid of having the ball. Yes, the team is not as afraid as it was under Mourinho's time. That was just horrible. They are comfortable with the ball at the moment, but I think they need to have that urge more, and be in those positions where they can. So mostly I think this game was about, not, well, yes, the quality, I would say, but then when I saw someone stretching the left back of, let's say, Van Bissaka, or someone on the right side stretching the left back of Wolves, I didn't see, there's a gap between the center back and this left back. There's no movement between those two guys, from Martial or anyone else, to basically get those runs in behind, and then those killer balls behind. Those kind of things where we are missing. We have got everything now. I think we're improving, I would say. But then, yes, final third without Rashford, we are very, very blunt. I think there's no spear, nothing in our attack, and we lack everything. Martial looks like a different player without him. So, I think quality in the last third quality is what we need more, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, giving my opinion on it, I thought that was one of the many frustrating games that we have had this season. It was not something new. We knew what we were going up against, and we knew the result. Going into the match, no one was confident we are gonna get 3 points. And with the playing 11 that was out there, people say Ole should do things differently. I don't think he can do anything with that squad. Pereira is not a midfielder. Pereira cannot play in the wing. Fred looks good, and he looks good only because we don't have Pogba and McTominay playing. If they come back, surely Fred is not going to be one of those first team, playing 11 member. And going forward, we don't have a front line. To be frank, Martial did nothing in the game. Without Rashford, he looks completely bereft of ideas. He doesn't seem to do anything. There's no movement. Bruno was, it felt like everyone wanted the ball. Mata wanted to come onto the ball. Bruno wanted the ball in his feet. Pereira wants the ball, cannot do anything with it. That's a different story, but wants the ball. Fred also wants the ball. So who's gonna make those runs? So all we're trying to just come into the ball, and there was no movement in front of them. Martial and alone cannot do it. He is to blame, but I don't think he is the only one to blame. James, uh, he has lost those, first few games. He made, felt like an awesome signing, but we have to come into reality and, see it with real eyes. He's not ready for the first team. Every match you cannot put him down in that playing 11 and make him play that. He is tired because he is the guy who runs a lot, gives his everything, so you cannot ask the same from him every single match. And that substitution bench says the whole story about Manchester United. That was a 358 million. That squad, that playing 11 that were there for Manchester United costed 358 million. And I would again put it down to Ed Woodward. I would again put it down to the recruitment team. Ole cannot do everything in his own. That team is just not good enough. You see the improvement we have made. Fred looks a better player with Ole. Martial looks a better player. Rashford has improved. Every one of those players has improved under Ole. So, but with the kind of, we don't have enough quality, to break teams down. We don't have enough quality to score, produce that bit of magic that's required. And if you see that Wolves team, their front three go directly into our front three. They can easily replace our front three. And if you see their midfield, that's better than our midfield. So there you go. Only defense is what separates us from Wolves. Midfield and attack position. They would straight away slot into our playing 11. That shows the difference that the standards of United have been over the last few years. That teams like Wolves have enough more quality than United. Just because we are Manchester United doesn't give us the right to win, and that result was fair. That was a disappointing one. So we'll go to the.
Yeah, I agree with that one, because if you look at the squad, we can't argue with most people that maybe we have the fifth or sixth. I think maybe we are punching above the weight even there. I don't think we do have the fifth best squad in the league, but we're there fifth and sixth, so I don't think we can complain much. And another frustrating thing is that whenever Chelsea or the ones above us, they lose points, we just straight away match their result. If they lose the game, we go and lose the game. They draw the game, we go and draw
It's a,
the bet. So
it's a competition between Chelsea.
I think it was 9 games or something.
Between Chelsea and Manchester United, who can be more shite, and we completely match them. Every single time they disappoint, we match them, and we are competing against them, with them, showing how shite we are. They are not alone in that race. We are competing.
Other teams are taking advantage of this. Sheffield United might finish in top 4. You never know. Both of Chelsea and Man United don't want to be there, so. And with the season,
we don't deserve to be frank. We don't deserve to.
And this is not just this season. I think this season, this started even last season. That horrible fight for the top 4. I think we'll all remember that one. Arsenal, Chelsea, United. I don't know what is happening there. Nobody wanted to be in the top 4, and it just continued like that. So
and
we can't complain much. I think
we remember that we came into that fight because of Ole only. Otherwise, we were probably too far behind. So yeah, it's plus and minus.
And
I'm
Yeah.
sure I think
and just
you know,
talking
I think
about
those
that
the initial
squad
period when
and
he
the
was the
bench.
interim manager, I
Yeah,
think I
okay.
saw the whole team pressing the teams really high, like really high, and I'm sure it took a toll on the whole team. I don't see that anymore. I see more. Yes, there is a high press, but it's not as intense as he made them do in those initial days. We were all over the opposition. I remember those Cardiff games and you know those games. So we were just too good. I don't think we've got the legs anymore. I think he looks at the future right now, like you know, lots of games coming up. He has to make sure he balances the squad fitness wise. Obviously, he's got some criticism with Rashford, Pogba, many of these McTominay important players missing out because of injury, and you know I think it's partly for him to blame as well because he has to be the one making sure the squad is fresh, rotated. The medical staff takes care of any problems even before you know they come in and hamper those you know give them the injuries these players, and then you know they end up on the sidelines for such a long time. So yeah, he has to be blamed, Ole, but you know I think Mm. I think he doesn't do that very high press anymore. So I think he needs more squad depth, more quality players, maybe some players who can make difference, like Origi's of Liverpool. You know, they come in and you know score some fantastic goals out of nowhere. So you know, players like those. I mean, I'm willing to give him time, but you know, I think there's still a long way to go before we can say this is the finished article of the squad.
You know, you know what? Whenever I see the
And Amrit, we do see Andres try and score those goals out of nowhere, but
yeah, that's a
we
completely
don't
different
see the.
topic. That's a big topic, you know, that we will discuss about it later. Yeah, you know, to just finish up this point, I would just like to say, you know, people, yeah, you're right on saying that we don't press that high, but I don't think you can complain about that because we don't have players to do that. If you know, we hardly have got first team players left in the squad, you know, to fill up. We are just filling up the first 11 spaces. If you ask me, 3 or 4 players there in that playing 11 are just playing because we don't have anyone fit or we don't have enough quality in the squad. So, and it's basically the same 11 being put together enough again and again and again, and it's been 18-20 matches in the last 2 months, and it will take its toll on the players because you know we cannot afford an injury. You know, one injury here to our midfield, and we are down to James Garner's and Dylan Levitt to play in the playing 11. So yeah, I can see what is that, but you know what I feel good about is right now. What I can say is there's not a single player in that field who doesn't give his 100%. You know, energy wise, you know, giving his everything out. Even Lingard, even Pereira, you cannot complain, you know, about them not giving their 100%. You know, everyone on that field is giving their 100%. It's just the quality that we lack. You know, we don't have that quality, you know, to get that final third pass, you know, to finish that chance, to be clinical, to be creative, to be innovative. And that is what is costing us because so, and that is what I think. So let's go to our second point that, uh,
and
yeah, Trisha.
yeah, and I think also it's just a very young squad, so we do expect them
Yeah.
to be inconsistent. We saw that even with Chelsea. If you get 1 or 2
Yes.
results with this young crop, that momentum might take us through to the other games as well. But whenever we get a bump, it's hard for them to come
It's
back
all about
because
confidence.
of the slating that they get probably in the social media, and also it just hits them a bit. 1 or 2 backs.
Yeah, exactly.
It happens, but
We cannot complain much about this. Yeah.
hopefully once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more positive that we had today was our number 18, Bruno Fernandes. We all had waited for him for the entire of the January transfer market. Not just January transfer market, it was the whole of summer as well that we were linked with him. We were all seeing the stats that he pulled up, you know, in sporting, kind of assist, the kind of goal, the kind of player he is, an overall player. What did you make of him? I was very excited for him, and I didn't think he did any bad to his reputation. I'll throw the stats later, but I would like to hear from you first how he did today. Trishal.
Yeah, I thought he's definitely an upgrade to what we have in our squad. Probably, I still do believe that Pogba is the best player that we have in our complete squad. But with the midfield options that we currently have, he's definitely an upgrade on every one of them. And we saw that yesterday. He looks a busy player. He wants to get on the ball. It's not like he's not shying away from it. He's like that one touch, two touch player where he gives and gets back the ball. He wants the ball and he wants to make things happen. And again, probably maybe we had talked about it, the movement in front of him. He was looking for a movement, but he was not getting too much. So, and also we saw him playing a bit more deeper in the second half, and he did well there also. So the initial impression, the first game, what he had only probably he had maybe just a single training session. So he looks promising, and hopefully once we have the squad coming back in, I think he will mix up better, and I think we'll be able to see much better football going forward. But excited to see him, and he looks a very basic player, and he's not afraid to take the shot, and he does have a stinging shot as well. So we saw 2 or 3 shots yesterday, and he's not afraid to do that also. So that's another thing. So it's not just 1-2 passes here. He's not afraid to go from the distance. So he looks exciting, and let's see how we go when we have.
After a long time, the Old Trafford were excited
players
for something
or better players of his quality. Yeah. And maybe once he get better players around him, in and around him, I think he'll improve. So far, he looks
Amrit,
good.
I'll come to you next.
We're happy to have him.
I'll come to you next, but before that, I'll just throw a little stats for you both. So Bruno Fernandes numbers versus Wolves. He completed 88 passes in the whole game. That was the most on that pitch yesterday. He completed 44 final passes. That was the most on the pitch yesterday. He took 5 shots. That was the most in between both the teams. He had 5 tackles. That was the third most from the midfielder. He had 3 shots on target. That was the most on the pitch. So that's the Bruno Fernandes stats for you. That all looks so good. So Amrit, what do you think about that signing there?
I think he did quite well, to be frank. I mean, I saw him, shaking hands and hugging all the other players, and I thought, he's actually gelled up quite well with the whole squad. I'm sure Lingard will not be really happy with him coming in because he knows he needs to pull his socks up. But I thought he did quite well. The initial period when he was playing in that actual number 10 role, he was making those, wide runs, diagonal runs, and linking up with others. So that was quite good to see. And then obviously he switched to the deeper role. I think he's most effective in that number 10 role. I really feel. I'm sure, yes, because of Matic being out, due to suspension. I think Ole was forced to play him there for this match. But I'm sure, I think he will, we'll start to see him playing in that number 10 role quite, continuously going forward. He's the one who can, break down those teams. And yes, I mean, I would have loved that shot to go into the net had he taken it from inside foot rather than outside foot. I think he had a good chance, but then that's okay. I think he will learn. It Premier League, really physical. I don't think he would have seen that until now. With a squad which is quite physical, I would say, having Juan Mata, Andres Pereira, obviously Bruno Fernandes, all these players. I mean, in terms of technicality, I think we are pretty good, but maybe physicality not so good. So I think there needs to be someone who is more physical in the midfield when Fernandes plays, because I don't think he's really good physically. But overall, I think I really loved his performance, and all the players were quite welcome to him, and he's a leader. I'm sure he will be a leader, very vocal in the squad, and he knows English, which is quite good. Obviously not everyone in the squad speaks English, but all those Fred and Dallo, and there are many more players who speak Portuguese. So I'm sure he will gel up with those guys as well. So that's good to see, because that when they will get to know each other, and as they play more with each other, they are bound to get even better. Know when to make the runs, and know when the passes coming their way. So I'm really happy with him. Really happy. I'm sure he will make a very positive difference to the squad.
Yeah, and just one more thing, I'd be excited to see probably we move back to a 4-3-3. I'd love to see Pogba and Bruno part of that 3-man midfield with a holding midfielder behind him. I think both of them could be a bit more effective there, because I do believe Pogba is best when he plays a bit deeper, since he has those longer passes and all those things. I think he's a bit better playing deeper. So it will be exciting to see if Ole goes back to a 4-4-3 once we have Pogba back, or whether we'll deploy him in the number 10, as Amrit was mentioning. But yeah, he does look vocal. We
Yeah.
even saw him telling players where to be, where to run.
I would love
We
to
saw
see
him very
McTominay,
vocal in that
McTominay
game.
back
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Anyone would be fine. We just need bodies in the squad now. We have so many people missing. Anyone coming back would
Bruno
be welcome.
Fernandes, when we saw Bruno Fernandes on that pitch yesterday, and the whole 90 minutes, you just summed it up. You can just sum it up by saying you saw something that we just were not seeing in that pitch anymore. That creativity that he brings, that ball, that technicality, the the tackles. He's just not an attacking midfielder. What I think is his best position is as a number 8. I don't think he's
Yeah.
a complete number 10. He can play there. He has been
Yeah.
playing there for Sporting this season. Prior to that, he was playing as a number 8 for Sporting. But he can be a number 10. He can be a number 8. So we have got a midfielder in our hand who can basically do everything. He's good defensively. He is very good offensively. He can take free kicks. He can take corners that we have lacked for a long time. We have, a specialist who can take those free kicks, those corners. Because I remember there was a time when Jones was taking that corners for Manchester United. That shouldn't ever happen to a club like Manchester United. So we saw a lot of glimpses from Fernandes to say that, our future looks bright. But there's one question that, haunts me. When we brought Paul Pogba back, from Juventus, we thought he's going to be the same thing. But the players around him were just not good enough. They were not on the same wavelength, and even now they are not. I'm just scared of the part that Bruno Fernandes is just so way ahead in terms of vision and creativity, that it's very difficult for the other players to match him. Because we don't have quality in and around him, and we don't want him to turn out to be another Pogba, because that is what is happening since last few years. It's not that our recruitment is the worst in the whole world. It's just that the quality player that we have been bringing in as well have degraded while being in Manchester United. So that's a concern, and I can see it quite clearly yesterday. There were some passes to which players should be running for that, like Daniel James should be. I know he's been only there for 1 day or 2 days, and it will take time for everyone to understand his passing and to be on the same wavelength. But I don't think some players are good enough in that squad to do that. And yeah, as you said, 4-3-3, that would be a good thing, but I don't think Ole prefers 4-3-3. It is more 4-2-3-1, for which Bruno has been brought in. Bruno has been brought in for that number 10 role, to fulfill that number 10 role. And I think you will see more of McTominay and Pogba in that number 8 or number 6 position, because Pogba is very good from a deeper position. I feel like he can control the play very well and all those things. 4-3-3 is basically the same thing. Doesn't matter which formation you set out, the players are going to play the way they want to. And 4-3-3 is not much different to 4-2-3-1. So yeah, we just we want our best players back. We just Bruno Fernandes cannot solve everything. He cannot score goals, assist goals, pass, then receive the pass and do everything with it. So yes, when we saw Bruno Fernandes yesterday, he was a breath of fresh air, and hopefully we are going to see a lot of goals and assists from him. And he certainly looks like a very good player in that pitch. Yeah. So that was our new signing, Bruno Fernandes. Excellent one. We will come to our third point, and that is the most disappointing thing that I see in football pitch at Old Trafford or away from home, whatever it is. We see all the talent that this guy has got, all the kind of talent that he has with the ball in his feet, with the kind of pace he has, and yet he keeps disappointing us. Whether it's his fault or the players around him, he just wasn't good enough yesterday, and he hasn't been good enough, to be fair, on lot of games, and that is Anthony Martial. So there's one question that I would like to put before you, both of you, and that is a simple one: that why is Martial so irrelevant without Marcus? Amrit.
I think one thing is a dip in form as well. I think Marshall has not been up to it. Once he's in a good form, then you see him finishing those those tap ins and those even the great finishes from outside the box. So he hasn't been in that form lately. Yes, I think it's also because of Rashford being out, because they've got some kind of philosophy. Well, some kind of tuning between each other. I was reading something yesterday, I think, where an article was saying that Marshall, rather than being a target man, he could actually be a much better false nine, much similar to Firmino in Liverpool.
Firmino, yeah.
Because when Firmino holds the ball and he releases Mane and Salah, who are the ones who will make the runs in behind. So I think that is what is the problem at the moment. So whenever Marshall gets the ball, he does those first touches and releases Rashford, who goes running in behind from the left side. This is what we've been actually missing with Rashford not being there. Yes, Dan James is good. I mean, we saw a glimpse of him when he initially came, but I don't think he's at the level of Rashford even now, because, well, one thing is physicality, which is very much important, which we have been missing with Rashford. He's quite physical now that we've seen him growing, and especially I think you know he's a striker. Rashford is the sort of striker who's the one who makes the runs in behind and scores goals. So that is what exactly a striker like Martial, he craves for, he needs. And that's why I think we are seeing a problem in scoring goals at the moment because of Rashford not being there.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Trishal, don't you think Marshall should still do more than he is doing right now? Because that's not good enough, even when Marcus is out.
Yeah, 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 it is not good enough. But we should also consider the fact that his style of play or his body language. I think we've had that with Berbatov. If you remember, we've had people slating on Berbatov because people believed he was lazy. But it's a bit about the player's body language and the way he plays as well. Because few things that we see in the page, we might believe that he's not trying too much. But yeah, I do agree with that one. What we saw yesterday, there was not much movement because maybe it could be because Rashford was breaking the lines. He was going ahead of Marshall in a few games when we saw. We might be missing that one. So it could be that one. And also, I do agree with Amrit. His hold up play, I do like that a bit. Although I thought he played a bit too much with his back to his goal yesterday, but his hold up play and his linking up is a bit better. But we didn't see any of those runs in behind the defender. He was not a nuisance for a defender. When if you have the runner, if you have the striker running in behind you, if you're a centre back, you know that you're in some trouble because you should have an eye behind you as well. He just doesn't did that too much yesterday or in a few games, but I think, as I said earlier, it could be because of the fact that Rashford or the others, they were breaking the lines and Rashford was going ahead of him and he could afford to do the supporting role as well. But yeah, we should be seeing a bit more because he's playing. It is his first season as a out and out striker because we've seen him push out to the left, push out to the right. Number 10, he's been pushed everywhere. Him and Rashford, and he should know that he is the out and out striker. And whenever we are doing the attack, we should have him in the box or somewhere around here. So I think that is probably where we are missing. But yeah, but it's a strange one because of that player's body language and the way he plays. It's you can't read too much into that because even if he's scoring goals for fun, that's how he looks. That's the kind of effort that he puts in. So it's a strange one. So Rashford coming back might solve it, but yeah, as you said, we do expect a bit more from him. But
Yeah,
we have an alternate striker coming in, so hopefully we'll see if that takes a bit of load.
you know what I
from
feel
him.
like Igalo is going to start the first match against Chelsea. He is going to start because I agree with what Amrit said and what you are saying partially. We should never judge a player by his body language. It doesn't matter how his body language is. If he does the job for you, that's good enough. And Amrit too saying I agree with his point completely, and I know that's a fact because Marcus is the only player in our squad who can dribble past players. If you see Daniel James, he has the pace to run with the ball, but as soon as he comes one on one, he just cannot go beyond that player because you just cannot dribble past them. So Marcus is the only player who can dribble past one or two players and then create a chance. And Martial loves playing with Marcus because they rotate, interchange the positions as well, and they are quite confident playing with each other. But my issue with Martial is his best position is number 9. He wants to be a striker. That is what he wants. And I, as much as I like his, hold up play, because the bar is set very low by Lukaku. So whatever you get after him, you're gonna like it. But the similar position, if you see the Wolves striker Raul Jimenez, his hold up play is far better than Anthony Martial or anyone else. You put the ball to him, he never loses it out. He will always find a way to pass it. There's never a bad touch. There's never ball bouncing out of him. Never will you see that happening with Raul Jimenez. I don't know how good a striker he is because he's playing for Wolves, but I can see the stark difference, in there, because his hold up play is too good. He brings Jota into the game. He brings Adama Traore into the game. Or even if both outlets are not available, he will pass it to Ruben Neves or someone else, but he will never lose it.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next point, and that is 3 consecutive clean sheets for us. As a defensive unit, we have been doing great in the recent matches. What do you think about it?
It's much better, I would say, but going forward in terms of fullbacks, I would want to see more from Luke Shaw, Brendan Williams, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think all of them need to improve drastically in the attacking third, with those crosses in one touch passes, maybe overlapping sometimes, maybe sometimes inverted fullbacks as well, getting into the midfield. Being those intelligent fullbacks, knowing where to be at the right time to help the team get the goals. That's what I would like to see going forward. But I think we've improved massively. Stopping those counterattacks, we've done it quite well. In the Wolves game, I think it was very, very important to keep the clean sheet, because Wolves are so deadly at the counterattacks, and I think the team did quite well. The defense did very well against the Wolves front line. But I think going forward, I think we should expect to see more. But it's so much better than it was.
Trisha, one thing, as Alex Ferguson always used to say, attack wins you matches, defense wins you titles. Are we starting to see something of that kind? You start from your back. Once you have a solid back line, then you can make those all foundations in front of you. The midfield, you can look on to the attack, the 3 attacking positions or whatever attackers you're playing. You can look up in the back. Defense is the starting point for any team, any great team. What do you think about defense? David looks like he's back into his best, and back line will be quite.
Yeah, I do agree with that. We've definitely improved. We have better players there coming in, and I was really impressed with the back line, especially yesterday. I think a big shout out to Harry Maguire, because I think it was a proper dominating performance by him, and even Victor and him. We handled the counter attacks pretty well, because I don't think they bullied us too much with the counter attacks. We handled them pretty well. We were physical. Harry made his presence felt and very nearly had the perfect chance to cap it off with a winner also laid on. I don't believe he should have scored, but defensively, I thought we were pretty solid, because once you saw Luke Shaw in the starting lineup instead of Brandon having done brilliantly against Adama especially, but I had a few concerns there, but I think Luke Shaw also did well. And we all know what Aaron Wan-Bissaka offers us defensively, and it's, as Amrit said, it's going forward where he probably needs a bit of improvement. But I was really happy with the back line yesterday, because I thought we were really solid, and I think Harry Maguire especially, I think he led the line really well for us.
The best thing about that backline is that we can have that backline for a long, long time. Every one of those players are young. Maguire has recently signed a 6-year contract plus one. That's the longest contract I've ever seen player get. 7-year contract. Then Lindelof has a good 6-7 years in him. Brandon Williams has a good 10 years in him. And Rizak are the same. So, and even the alternatives that we have are not bad. Lucha is not bad number 2 to have. Diego Dallo is not bad number 2 to have as a right back. Then you've got Eric Bailly there who can do a job there. Chris Smalling returns, he can do a job for you. If he doesn't, also we have Conzebe who looks like a future prospect. So I think our backline is quite fixed, and I don't think we need to invest in that area. At least then we can say like, okay, we have got a backline for future. And David D, yeah, I know he's getting older, but we have uh, Dean Henderson, who might be coming next year and challenging for that number one spot. Who knows that? So yeah, backline really impressed me. At least there's something to take out of that game, clean sheet. We move on to the next point, and that is our bench. I haven't seen that amazing. No, I haven't seen an amazing bench like that. It's been long that we had that kind of a bench that we really needed. That bench really makes me proud of where we are going, where we are at. And Amrit, can we have someone better in that bench? Do you think? Or did we have a better bench ever in Manchester United history?
I see sarcasm dripping all over that statement. Yeah, no, I think it is down to so many managers having players in the squad at the moment. All the way from Sir Alex Ferguson's players as well. So with Ole coming in, he needs specific types of players. Jose needs some specific types of players, and Van Gaal needed different ones. So he's trying to fix it. Having those players who were there from different managers, I think that is something which Ole wouldn't really want, with so many different players, young players coming in, which probably suit his philosophy more. So I think, yes, we've got very thin squad with injuries at the moment, and the players available. Yes, it's very thin bench. I would say no one can really make a big difference, but I think this will improve. Ole, I think, has to do much better in terms of summer as well. I think he needs to build a full squad, not just a full team. He needs to, obviously, with the help of our board, which is so good, and Ed Woodward being there. So he needs to get those players who can make the difference from the bench, not just 16, 17-year-old kids who you throw in and expect them to make difference, because putting so much responsibility on shoulders can break their careers. So I think, yeah, because we are in the transition period where we're building the team, we've got a very thin bench. He's focusing on the first team, because first team was pretty bad as well when he came in. Not at all good. So he's fixing, from the roots of the squad, of the club, many different things. So I'm sure, as when he gets the first team sorted, even the squad will improve, with Pogba coming back, McTominay coming back. Then you will have Fred and probably Matic, not if he's not leaving this summer, on the bench. With Fred, obviously, I don't want him to be. He's playing so good now. You would want to see more of him, but he automatically goes to the bench when Pogba and McTominay are back. So yes, injuries have also played a part, but I think we'll see it get better with the next summer, and after that, definitely.
Yeah, hope so. Trisha, we have spent nearly 800 million on this tour. Nearly 800 million. We have the second highest wage bill in Europe, and this is the bench we have got to show for it. There are a couple of injuries there, but every team gets injuries. So it's not like you have 10 players and they will be fit and to play every single match with the whole season. So injuries are part of the game, and we need to accept that. We need to be ready for that, especially if you are a big team like United. And yes, we are in a transitional phase. How poor have been recruitment for Manchester United? How have we ended?
I do agree with that, because not just the injuries. I think even when we started the season off, even when we beat Chelsea 4-0, we knew that one injury and this is where we are going to be. And look what happened. We probably lost our best player, and we probably lost our top scorer, and we've lost the one who has improved the most. And I still can't believe that we are still in and around the fourth place, thanks to Chelsea and all the others. But yeah, it's a bit shocking. And when you're trying to win a game at Old Trafford, 4 minutes, Diego Dallo and Jesse Lingard in the form that he's in, that's not the subs that you would expect. Though had that header gone in from Diego Dallo, we might have had a different opinion probably. But still, yeah, it's disappointing. And it's not just injuries, coming back to that, because even the cases like Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez, I saw the preseason here in Perth, and you could just tell that he's leaving. His body language, the way he's around with the squad, you just knew that it's just a matter of time. And from that period onwards, and we had a whole transfer window there, and we should not be at a situation where on a deadline day we bring in a guy from the Chinese Super League. I hope Odion proves us wrong and scores a few goals, but we should not be in that situation. As we saw, the pundits have been telling all along, this is not what Manchester United should be along. And if you're doing a proper rebuild, uh, you should be on it. So it shouldn't. If it takes this longer, I think at some point of time the fans and probably the board will again maybe probably lose their patience with Ole, and we'll be back to the drawing boards with another clear out. I don't want that to happen. So I hope the board backs him at least in the summer, and we get a few more players in. And the only chance we had competing for a top four place is if we had the fully fit squad and the best 11 for literally all the games in the season. And we knew we were not getting that. And so it's a bit expected, but all of us saw it coming. And I expect the board or the people who are in charge of that to be handling that a bit better, because even us from the outside, it was so evident to us that we would be in this situation. So disappointed, but what is it? We hope the players come back after the break, and we hope we get more players in the next window, hopefully.
In a season where our hopes were tied to literally no injury to the first 11, the irony of the situation is we never had our best 11 after the Chelsea game. That was the first game of the season. After the Chelsea game, we never had the best 11 on the pitch together. It was always one coming in and one going out. Marshall was injured for a couple of months, and Boca was literally not available the whole season. And once Marshall came back, and Rashford and Marshall looked like they were doing something together, we have Marcus Rashford injured for the rest of the season, I guess. And now that Scott and Fred was looking good, we lost Scott. So I don't know what's happening this season. Maybe we were never destined to be successful this season. I can put down to that because we were into our bare bones. The squad that we had, and with the kind of injuries we have got, it doesn't help. It doesn't. So yeah, I understand it's a long process. Where we are trying to be. It's gonna take time, and I don't want to clear out because once you clear Sacco, you're again going into that rebuilding phase. You're again going back to those days when okay, the fans have to again understand 3 4 years down the line. You have to understand the new manager here. The new players have to get in the philosophy. There'll be again a different structure, recruitment structure, different kind of players you bring in. You ship out the kinds we have right now, and that's never going to help you. You need to give time to one particular manager and see how it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But there's just no point in just sacking and just going on with it, that playing game that we could for this field. And I see that online fans are a little fickle-minded, and they will get onto your boot as soon as you lose the first match. I was seeing the Twitter yesterday, and they were getting the backs of Bruno Fernandes. God, he's been here 10 minutes, and the fans are just not letting him settle down. Thank you.
Thanks, Abhishek.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.